spur more domestic manufacturing, though some auto plants already in the U.S. depend on parts from other countries, fueling continued concern about consumers having to pay more. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent focusing on the bigger picture.
When we execute on our tax plan, on the deregulation, and on the energy dominance, every one of those is disinflationary.
The new auto tariffs being announced days before a new reciprocal tariff policy begins. The Treasury chief also just telling Fox News a delayed economic deal with Ukraine could be signed as soon as next week. He says they're reviewing the deal now. The Trump administration insists national security was not undermined by a journalist inadvertently being included in a text group about airstrikes in Yemen.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt repeatedly said no classified information or war planning was shared amid questions about the inclusion of the Atlantic's editor-in-chief in a signal text group with top defense and national security officials.
Again, I have now been asked and answered this same question using different language multiple times. If anybody has another question, there's a lot of different things going on in the world.
In that group chat, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth described the timing and aircraft used in airstrikes on Houthi targets in Yemen. There was no mention of locations or sources and methods of intelligence. Leavitt accuses the Atlantic's editor, Jeffrey Goldberg, of anti-Trump sensationalism.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Lithuania's military says the status of 4 U.S. soldiers missing during a training exercise in that country is not yet confirmed and that a rescue operation continues. The head of NATO has said he was told the soldiers were dead. U.S. Army Europe says the soldiers' vehicle was found submerged in water and that recovery efforts are underway. Stocks finished lower, the Dow down 132 at the bell. America is listening to Fox News.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
As Luigi Mangione awaits trial, charged in the murder of a healthcare executive in New York City, one supporter of the accused killer tried to send him a note for luck.
The note on heart-shaped paper was in a package of socks intended for Mangione to wear in court. The note said there are thousands who are supporting him. Prosecutors put the details of the message in a court filing that also reported a second heart-shaped note with the pair of Argyle socks. Mangione is charged with federal murder and stalking counts related to the shooting death last December of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione is also facing state counts in New York and Pennsylvania. He has pleaded not guilty. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Gun safety groups are celebrating a U.S. Supreme Court decision upholding a Biden administration rule about ghost guns. Nearly impossible to trace. The rule requires serial numbers, background checks, and age verification to buy gun kits. Florida's legislature may roll back a child labor law, allowing more teens to work more hours on school days.
Florida's state lawmakers could pass bills doing away with hours restrictions for employment of 16 and 17-year-olds for when school is in session. The same proposed changes would also give more employment availability to 14 and 15-year-olds, including allowing teens of that age to work nearly full days on school days if they are home or virtually schooled. The measure is supported by Governor Ron DeSantis, though his opponents say his crackdown on illegal migrant employment necessitates putting children into the workforce at the expense of education. In Miami, Eben Brown, Fox News.
Recapping Wall Street, the Dow drops 132 points. The S&P down more than 1%. The NASDAQ, the biggest loser, down 372. That's more than 2%. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather for East Central Illinois, Champaign-Urbana and vicinity. Quiet day's worth of weather ahead. Departing weather system may still generate a sprinkle and snowflake to our east and south this morning early on. Otherwise, a partly cloudy sky. 55 on the high, west-northwesterly breeze on the light side. For tonight, increasing cloudiness down to 38. Winds will turn southwest. Tomorrow, mainly cloudy. A bit of rain in the morning, and again for the afternoon, the highs near 60 as winds turn south to southeast. Tomorrow night, not so cool, down to 48 with some rain early and a couple of showers and thunderstorms late in the day on Friday. Breezy, turning much warmer, partly sunny. Small chance for a shower early in the day, the high up to about 77. More widespread showers, a couple of thunderstorms here for Friday night into Saturday. Highs near 73 on Saturday, turning cooler on Sunday, 67 and dropping with morning showers and a couple of thunderstorms. Monday next week, cooler still at 48, a touch of rain early on, then clearing. We're back in the 50s on Tuesday, 60s next Wednesday with showers and thunderstorms back in the forecast. For Stevie J Broadcasting, I'm meteorologist Greg Solgay.
Hey, what's up? It's The Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Derek Piper, Kyle Tosk along for the ride today. We'll be off tomorrow. Cardinals baseball on opening day. Cannot wait for that. And they got a first pitch around 3:15. So around this time tomorrow, you'll be able to hear Cardinals opening day at Busch Stadium against the Twins, the Cubbies. Tomorrow night, late night, first pitch against the Diamondbacks. That one's looking like 9:10. Hear that on our sister station, US 105.9. So how's it feeling, Kyle? Less than, well, for you a little bit longer, but 24 hours from some real baseball in front of us. Again, you already some
I wish I could see
that's not
0
in
and
Japan
0
and not against the Dodgers.
I wish I could see 0 and 0 like every other team in the league, other than the Dodgers next to the record. But yeah, I'm excited about it. Cubs did kind of get the short end of the straw playing night games to start, though, with the Sweet 16 also on. I could have used a nice little 3 o'clock start. Perfect setup for Cardinal fans tomorrow.
Might get some dual screen action going. Might have to.
For sure.
If you can get that done. I was thinking on the drive over of some and I'd welcome some texters to, jolt my memory or give me some other moments that I just haven't lived through or don't remember off the top of my head, but some cherished opening day moments and memories. Since we won't be on tomorrow, it was something that I thought of coming in. I remember the Cubs wasn't in Kosuke Fukudome in his debut. He had a walk-off or game-tying home run?
It was a game-tying 3-run homer, I think, with 2 outs in the ninth.
Did they end up winning that or no?
I think they did.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
But it was a cold day in Wrigley, and I remember him hitting one in the ninth. I couldn't remember. Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Actually, it might have been a walk-off. You're right. Now you have me confused.
Let's look this up. On the Cardinals side of things, I couldn't think of any notable day one memories. I don't know. And again, 217-359-2255, Max Twin City Recycling text line. What's the biggest opening day moment that comes to mind? I'm seeing game tying home run.
Yep, I had it right the first time.
You did. You got it. Now, I do want to know, did they win the game?
You'd have to imagine they did, right?
If we remember it that way, I would think that they did, right? Cubs opening day 2008. Man, it's been that long.
I was only 4 years old when this game happened.
I don't blame you for not remembering that. March 31st, 2008. Brewers 4, Cubs 3. They lost in the 10th.
The Brewers.
Sorry to bring up that, I guess. But, yeah, Fukudome off. Eric Gagne.
Wow.
A legend of a closer. 2 on, no out.
Was he still dominating with the Brewers at that point, or was he kind of...
Good question. Let's see. Eric Gagne with the signature glasses, nasty changeup. He won a Cy Young. I'd forgotten that. You go back to 2003. He was a Cy Young Award winner with, how many saves did he have? 55 saves, 1.20 ERA. Milwaukee, that was his last year, and he didn't have a very good one. He was in 50 appearances, 5.44 ERA. 32 years old at that point. In 2008 with Milwaukee was his last season, but lights out with the Dodgers, 3-time All-Star, and one of those that you saw in the ninth, and you knew the game was over pretty much. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think upon that more. Maybe some quick research along the way will give me a Cardinals moment that I can grasp onto. But you'll, of course, see the Clydesdales come out, the Ford trucks driving around and dropping the players off at home plate. Adam says on the Max Twin City Recycling text line, pretty sure Nolan Arenado hit a go-ahead home run in opening day at Busch. Is that his best Cardinals moment? Man. You wish there were more, right? I don't know, Adam. That's a good question.
It's not a good sign when you can't think of another one.
Well, they haven't had any postseason moments.
That's right.
Because if they've gone, it's been in the wild card, and it's been, they got swept 2-0 by the Phillies. That what seemed like a magical second half with Pujols doing what he did and was like the best hitter in baseball, not named Aaron Judge, for the final 2.5 months of the season, with Goldie playing at a all-star MVP caliber level and Arenado as well. So you would have imagined when you put that duo together of Goldie, who's now going to be in Yankee pinstripes. That'll be interesting to see.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, him and Bellinger on that same team. And, Goldie and Nato across from each other on the corners, like, they should set up some nice postseason runs, but there really wasn't that.
That Phillies series was just like the quickest ending to a season. Boy, I'm excited. The Cardinals could do some damage here. And then didn't they get eliminated right after an Illinois?
I remember watching the tailgate lot with
and
Lon.
You guys came in and were like, "Well, we got out there for the ninth inning, and all of a sudden the Cardinals season's over, just like that."
I remember I had tickets to the Illinois-Iowa game, football night game, which was awesome. Now the game itself was kind of ugly because you ended up getting. DeVito gets hurt in that game, right?
Good old 9-6 final with Sitkowski finishing it out.
Yeah, but certainly satisfying when you finally beat Iowa. I remember my wife was a big Cardinals fan. She was like, I know you got tickets, but I don't know if I want to go. I want to stay home and watch the Cardinals. And if this is their last game, I don't know. Ultimately, she ends up going. But, that was one where you walk out to the lot and all of a sudden it's the late innings and it's over. And that was tough. That was tough for sure. But how much more opportunity is there for a Nolan Arenado moment or signature moments going forward? It might be a situation, barring them being surprisingly in contention, that he might, if you're a Cardinals fan, you're just rooting for him to upgrade his value and then be a trade piece at the deadline. But maybe I'm missing something there. Who are going to be some other ones, Kyle, as far as new face, new place that will be like, oh, he's there, or oh, that's weird seeing him in that uniform. Alex Bregman in a Red Sox uniform.
Yep. That one will be weird.
Coming up tomorrow. They're going to play in Texas, I believe. That will be interesting. And I'm trying to think who else. Soto, of course, was a Met. Right? Are they playing?
Yeah, although he's been on 4 teams, so it's almost not even weird to see him in a different uniform.
That's true. That's true. The Mets playing the Astros in Houston. That will be an afternoon affair tomorrow. Blake Snell starting for the Dodgers tomorrow.
Come on. Their rotation is just... I was just watching that Cubs series and seeing both Yamamoto and Sasaki and then realizing, they also have Tyler Glasnow. They also signed Blake Snell. Ohtani's getting ramped up to pitch in about a month. That's your 5-man rotation, and then you got some depth guys like Dustin May who throws 99. It's ridiculous. I don't know how that team loses this year.
Not fair. Not fair at
I
all.
wonder what's their win total. It's got to be like 110.5. It's got to be something astronomical.
Yeah, let's effort this. Let's I can go to the I had the Fangraphs. I'll let you do the Sportsbook one because you're now a member of that.
I can do this now.
You're now a member of that society. But we'll go Fangraphs projected standings. I had those pulled up yesterday. I'm feeling like this will lowball it, and I really do want to know more so the win total that's posted by the Sportsbook. Fangraphs projected 95 and 65. Okay, Fangraphs, come on, let's get real.
That's ridiculous.
There's no way that
Come
happens.
on. If they don't get to 100 wins, they must have had a team-wide disease where they put 15 players on the IL for 2 months. There's no shot that they don't win at least 100.
away. Let's
see here.
Team wins. This is great radio.
This is fantastic. And, of course, I got to scroll all the way down to find the Dodgers.
Seeing 103.5 on DraftKings.
Yep. I would hammer the over on that.
It's just the over minus 125. 103.5. What were they last year?
They would have had to gotten over that, right?
I would think so.
Although, did
LA Dodgers.
Did they have the best record in the NL last year?
Should know this. 98-64 last year.
I'm shocked.
No starts from Ohtani. Obviously, they got Sasaki now. They got Snell now. Yeah, that is surprising. It is a tough division, obviously. You know, the Padres have not turned away and taken their ball and gone home and be like, yeah, well, it's not our window anymore. They're still trying to be competitive with them and have some scary bats in their order still with Tatis and Machado, and Jackson Merrill had a great year last year, and obviously in their rotation with Dylan Cease and Michael King had a really good year, and Yu Darvish hasn't gone anywhere. So
I guess you are running into a decently difficult divisional schedule there with Arizona, San Diego, and even the Giants will be decent. But now you don't have the 19 divisional games; it's only 13, and it's just that team's so much better than any other team. And the thing is, every baseball team's going to have injuries. The Dodgers could have 5 injuries, and they still have the best roster in the league. So
right.
I would hammer an over 103.5. I think they push 110.
I'm with you on that. Maybe we can go through odds to make the playoffs. Who would be a little bit of a longer shot or one that we would like? We didn't end up doing our division picks yesterday, which maybe you and I can get done today. We will talk some transfer portal, of course. That will be a daily occurrence on this show as we go forward. As far as Illinois goes, we don't have any submissions into the portal from Illinois' roster, but there are some names out there that we talked about. Josh Dix, and I want to ask you a little bit more on him. How big of a priority should he be? How far would you be willing to go? I'm not that we're in charge of the money here, but I do think he will be an expensive addition for somebody as far as that goes. And we need to get some Sweet 16 talk because we won't be on tomorrow leading into Thursday night's games, but I think just kind of settling into what those matchups look like and some early thoughts.
Could do a rankings of which games we're most excited for.
No doubt. I like that.
Because it's tough. There's a lot of really good ones.
That's
the thing with the no upsets. I know some people are complaining, all the mid-majors are out. Look at the matchups we got. I'd rather see this than Duke and whoever it would have been, Akron, in the Sweet 16. That line is 25.5. These matchups are awesome.
You wouldn't give John a chance in that one?
No, I don't think so.
He didn't.
I don't think that would go well.
I didn't text him, but I did lay a wager on Akron plus 16.5 and had no chance. So, John, you owe
that was a bad matchup with Arizona, though.
John, you owe me $20, so we'll get you back on the road or something like that.
One of these years, he's going to win a tournament game. He keeps getting there with Akron.
Yeah. I wonder. I don't know. I didn't think he was going to be the first choice. I wondered if Xavier went into. Now that's a good job, and they obviously end up with Richard Pitino. But I wondered if that was one that cycled through a couple candidates. If John would be an interview candidate at all, but they landed on their guy pretty quickly. So we'll see what Villanova ends up doing. If they don't get Kevin Willard, I wonder where they're going to go. Where do you go next?
I don't know. That's interesting. The Willard thing's been so weird because he basically just took the press conference and said, I hate everything about Maryland. We don't have enough resources. My relationship with my AD's bad. He's just I'm just going to say it all.
He was dogging the AD big time. And then he's like, oh, by the way, this guy's leaving. He's going to SMU. So just so everybody knows. Before we move on from opening day, Bob from Champaign says, guys, got to be an old Cub fan to remember this. April 8th, 1969, Willie Smith's walk-off in the 11th inning lit the fuse that eventually went dark in September. Yeah,
I personally can't quite recall that one, but I'm sure it was great.
I don't remember it either. There was an article on MLB.com, top Cardinals opening day moments, March 31st, 1998. It says McGuire sparks historic homer season with a grand slam. It's a grand slam there against the Dodgers, win 6-0. And, of course, you had, as we talked a little bit with Mike Claiborne yesterday about that epic home run chase between Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire. Bob Gibson threw a gem in 1967, the opener on April 11th. Let's see. I don't have stats here, but I have to go through a couple of these. Albert Pujols, April 5th, 2010. He wasted no time in showing the unanimous National League MVP. I wish these had better. Okay, 4 for 5, 4 runs scored, 10 total bases. I like that. And, yeah, we'll go through those as we go along. If you got more submissions, 217-359-2255 on the Max Twin City Recycling text line. And maybe Kyle can give us like an 8-leg MLB parlay. I don't know what kind of a bettor he is, though, so he might not be the Lonte style.
I don't think I'm going to be betting much baseball because I feel like I'll be awful at that.
Fair enough.
That's just such a crapshoot during the season.
It is. Especially early. You got to kind of wait for things to level off. I think the best way for me...
I might have to look at like some win totals and award stuff, future market. That might be where I could try to have a little fun. I feel like just betting... I put together a few little, home run parlays or something like that.
Something fun. Not high risk in terms of what you're going to lose. A couple bucks to win big. That's a good way to go.
I've been very up and down. I've been dabbling in some college basketball betting since I became a legal gambler at age 21. Very up and down for me so far. That's how it's supposed to be.
I think that's how it goes. Yeah, I haven't, as somebody that's been doing it for a number of years now, I haven't shook the up and down inconsistency that seems to come with
I got
that.
off to a great start in conference tournament weekend. That Saturday with a bunch of conference title games, and then the first weekend of the NCAA tournament did not go well. So back to about where I started.
Yeah, that happens. I don't know if anybody else has it like this, but my wife has two sportsbook apps. I got her on a couple of the join promos, which is the way to go. I know that, Kyle, you were able to take advantage of one of those as well. And anytime that I tell her that I'm betting on somebody and she goes, "Oh, I bet on the other side," I'm immediately screwed. Like, she wins any of those head-to-heads. Like, I have to ask her who she's betting on, so I don't I don't want to lose just because you're betting the other side. She did get a nice a 16-1 during the first week of March Madness, which I'm like, man, you're better at this than me. I don't know how. I watch all this basketball, and but you've got it like that. Muhammad listener. Tuffy Rhodes, 3 home runs against the Mets for the Cubs on opening day. Never heard of Tuffy Rhodes. I do big Dimitri Young, right? Back in the day. That was not a Cardinals or Cubs. He was I think he did play for the Cardinals, but that was with the Tigers, I believe. He went yard 3 times. So we've seen a couple of those through the years. But ultimately, okay, before we catch a break, I teased this with Josh Dix. Let's talk a little Josh Dix here, the 6'6" shooting guard for Iowa. I know we're all over the place in this opening segment, so I apologize. But a guy that about 15 points a game, really good shooter. It's become known now that Illinois is very much in the mix for him. And you've got Kansas, you've got Creighton. He's from Council Bluffs, Iowa, which is just on the other side of the border between Iowa and Nebraska. So grew up right there in Creighton Blue Jay country. I think he's 5 miles or something close like that to the campus over there. And his former teammate now, there's a lot of smoke for Owen Freeman likely going to Creighton. So that's an interesting dynamic as well. Kentucky's been in the mix for Dix. I've heard there's a lot of heavy hitters. And Ben McCollum, obviously, at Iowa, as you'd expect, trying to make a really strong push to get him to stay, along with Price Sanford, who, by the way, is visiting Nebraska today. So that will be interesting. But we talked about it a little bit already. Kyle, wanted to go a little bit deeper with you as far as the potential fit at Illinois for Josh Dix, how much you would want him as an Illinois fan, and how big of a priority you think he should be, because I do think he will command a pretty sizable chunk of change.
I'd be interested to know how much he ultimately does get, because that, I think, is a factor. But you see, like, Kansas and Kentucky being in on him, and I don't know. I always thought he was a good player at Iowa. I don't think I necessarily realized how good he was offensively. Now, there's going to be some defensive questions with him. There's going to be some athletic limitations with him, but the guy is as efficient of a scorer as you'll find. I mean, he shot like 51% from the floor, 43% from 3, 42%. You saw him torch Illinois in one of those matchups. Was that maybe a year ago at State Farm Center, where he had a huge game, and that mid-range pull-up is deadly for him. The buzzer beater he hit against, what was that, Northwestern? I mean, he can shoot the ball, he can score it. I think he'd fit really, really well as a backcourt complement to Kylan. Now, he wouldn't probably be the primary ball handler, playmaker that you might want to be looking for. That probably would make it Kylan's role on this team, but I think he's a secondary ball handler. I think he's a guy that you can put in ball screens and he can be pretty deadly. I think just from a scoring perspective, we talked about on Monday, like go get a guy who can just go get you a bucket. I think he fits that mold about as well as anybody in the portal right now from a scoring standpoint. So I think he would fit really well at Illinois. I just would be a little nervous for a guy of his caliber with still some question marks, especially on the defensive side. If we're talking like $2 million and we're getting really high, he's getting paid like an All-American. Of course, now I guess prices are just going to go up for everybody, so maybe that will look fine based on anybody else that hits the portal. But I would wonder what that price tag would look like, because there probably is a point it would get to where I'd be uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, I do think the price tag will be pretty high and might even get to that $2 million range. Of course, a program like Kansas, that they're probably not going to worry too much about going up there if they need to. I don't know that Iowa would do that, but maybe they could.
They have that?
It does sound like Iowa has increased their budget substantially. Now, they were on the lower end of the Big Ten last season. That was pretty widely known, or started especially to trickle out down the stretch. And you heard some things about why stuff didn't go right for Fran McCaffery, who, by the way, is on his way to Penn, ultimately to be the new head coach. So I agree with you. I think in terms of what you're looking for just a pure shot maker, both from three, can do it off the dribble, can create his own shot in terms of getting, like you said, to the mid-range. And I do think, similar to a Will Riley, it'd be one of those where it's, you play the shot selection game, you talk analytics, like you're okay with him taking a bunch of mid-range pull-ups. I do think, from what I've watched, and I need to go probably study him a little bit more, he's not a bad athlete, it doesn't feel like. I don't think he's a great athlete. I don't think I'd expect him to be like a pretty good defender, but I'm interested. It's hard to judge probably without just really cramming some film on him of how good of a defender he is. You'd say Iowa, you'd say what they've been, you'd imagine that he's a below average defender, but I don't know. I think that's one thing you got to evaluate for sure. I think also, not that it would deter me from trying to go get him, but I have thought that the piece next to Kylan, in my opinion, has largely been, as we forecasted this out, should be maybe a primary guy on the ball from a creation standpoint, from a make other guys better. Maybe that can go a different way. Not that I feel like Kylan can be somebody, as he showed down the stretch, that he can get in the lane and make some plays and some deliveries as well. I would want that to at least be a shared role and probably geared towards that other piece. If I'm creating him, ideally, maybe because of Tommy and his playmaking, that can be another pillar of your offense, where maybe that is less needed as of like, okay, this has to be a dynamic creation and dynamic playmaker at guard. What do you think about that, as far as could you make it make sense if Kylan's a playmaker, maybe not your every possession point guard, but he has some of that in him. Tommy obviously is a passer and a guy that has the ball in his hands a lot. And then Dick's 3 assists per game last year, nothing crazy. And I wouldn't fully expect him to be a guy that, play him in ball screens almost every possession, and he's making deliveries everywhere.
I do just think the number one thing you need from that spot is scoring, individual scoring and shot creation, in my opinion. I think you would prefer that to be all in one, like a Kasper Siakachonis 1-for-1 replacement in terms of a guy that can do a little bit of everything. He can be a high-level passer, a guy that can be put in ball screens, a guy that can be a primary ball handler while also going and getting his own bucket and being able to make shots. It's going to be hard to find that type of piece. And if you do find it, it's you're probably going to be in a bidding war up to a ton of money for it. So to me, I think the number one box I want to check with whoever Kylan's backcourt mate is scoring and just individual one-on-one shot creation. And I think Dix fits that while also at least being a guy who you feel like can be maybe he's not going to be your primary on-the-ball guard, and that would end up being Kylan, but I think he could be a secondary guy, and you feel pretty comfortable with that. I think that's what he was at Iowa with their rotation of point guards with Harding and Thelwell. He had the ball in his hands a lot, and I think he could be pretty deadly with it, especially just knowing his shooting ability and how much attention teams would have to give to him. But I don't know. It just depends on the player, because I do feel like I don't really want like a true point guard, because when I say true point guard, I mean like a guy who's pass first and like
right.
is just there to run your offense and isn't really much of a scoring threat, because I think that's what you're solely missing more than anything from your lineup. I guess it all depends on how this staff and how you feel about Kylan Boswell being like a primary point guard. Is it out of the question? Are we underselling him a little bit in terms of what he could be as a senior from that perspective?
Could be. He made me more encouraged or more interested in the idea of being a higher usage on-ball guy, what he showed later in the year. I mean, he was somebody that Illinois was more efficient, it seemed, more sure-handed, definitely, down the stretch with the ball in his hands as opposed to KJ. So that was something I felt like in the Kentucky game that Kylan gave you and that KJ really obviously didn't. So and I think because of the way that Illinois' offense operates, because it is in Tommy's hands a lot towards the top, and he can see cutters and he can do different things as far as that goes, that I think that changes maybe what you're asking out of your backcourt, and I would be more apt to say that Kylan can handle that. And again, like he's been somebody, he came up as a point guard. Yes, he's been usually the Robin as far as that playmaking role. Go back to Arizona where he's next to Caleb Love, and he's had games where he's dished out a number of assists. I think he had maybe even a 10-assist game against Wisconsin when he was at Arizona, and had a couple of...
Had a triple-double this year. It was against whatever school.
Right.
I forget.
I mean, he averaged 4 assists a game down the stretch, really the last 8 to 10 ball games for Illinois, so it's not like you weren't getting some playmaking out of him. And sometimes he hit you with some really good passes. There were times where he would turn it over as well. But I think in general, some could undersell what he can be. But I think a lot of people that watched him closely down the stretch would say this can be, especially you get the three-point shooting back to where it had been at Arizona or somewhere close. This could be one of the best guards in the Big Ten.
Oh, I absolutely think he could be. I think you kind of need to figure out the right fit in that you don't want it to be just a pure point guard who's not much of a scoring threat. You also don't want it to be just a pure scorer who has, he's a shaky ball handler, shaky decision maker type. I think you want somebody who has some versatility, but I don't necessarily think it has to be, as much as that would probably be the ideal, 1-for-1, find a guy that can be what KJ was in terms of a skill set. I don't think it necessarily has to be that, because I do think, Kylan Boswell's a guy now that's going to be entering his 4th year of high major basketball, and in all 3 of those years he's had significant on-ball responsibilities. And I think just that experience and, the way he played down the stretch, and I think especially as he continues, if he obviously gets back to his normal shooting numbers, and you really do have to worry about him as a shooter who can maybe make a 3 in your face, or he can drive past you. Like, his scoring, I think, will affect that as well. And like having Tommy, I actually think down the stretch of the season for Illinois, their offense was at their best when it wasn't really all KJ. We're going to just ride with KJ every possession. We saw that not go well down the stretch. Part of that was because he wasn't playing well. There were times where that did end up being the right move for Illinois early, but maybe you don't have to have like a guy, a point guard, a primary ball handler. When you have 3 or 4 different options in your lineup, it'll depend on, maybe if you do get a playmaking wing too, whether that's a guy like Sarr or if Ty Rodgers comes back, whatever the case may be, you might have a number of different guys who can kind of share in that responsibility to where you can be a little bit more flexible with what that guard addition looks like.
I agree with that. I mean, even Will Riley was somebody that was certainly geared more towards scoring, but the playmaking was part of the equation. I think that aligns, like you were saying. It doesn't have to be, and you wouldn't want it to be a pass first suspect scoring suspect. Go get one if we need it. But maybe it is somebody that it's not all about setting the table, but can be a scorer, but a capable drive and kick, drive and dump off, see the floor well enough to make good decisions. I think that's important in general, and that comes with obviously feel for the game, shot selection, and everything. But to tie a bow on this conversation, Kylan against Kentucky, 6 assists, 3 turnovers. He had 7 assists at the Big Ten tournament against Iowa as opposed to 1 turnover. I know that's a bad defense. But Purdue, 5 assists, 0 turnovers in the regular season finale. So he had some moments, especially late, where he was able to dish it out. And, heck, if Illinois was better at making open shots, you wonder about how all these guys' assist numbers would have ultimately looked. But 217-359-2255. Hit us up on the Max Twin City Recycling text line. What's your feeling on Josh Dix, how big of a priority he should be for Illinois, what you think his fit would look like next to Kylan Boswell? We'll talk plenty of Sweet 16 here coming up and circle back as well if you got some more opening day thoughts coming up tomorrow for everyone around the league. So look forward to doing that. We'll continue to talk college basketball as we go forward. Stick with us. It is The Drive.
It's great when hard work and experience are recognized. Hi, this is Ryan Heiser, President and CEO of Fisher National Bank. I am thrilled to share that Fisher National has been ranked 7th in the nation as a top lender in mortgage loans among banks with asset size of $300 million to $1 billion by our National Banking Association. This recognition is a testament to our lending team's dedication and expertise. After all, better banking experiences start with local people and local decision making. If you're in the market for a new home or considering refinancing your existing home, let our team at Fisher National Bank earn your business and trust. We offer competitive rates with low closing costs, and we locally service almost all of our loans. Come see us with all your home mortgage needs and experience the top-notch service that has earned us national recognition. Learn more at fishernational.com or stop by one of our branches today.
Fisher National Bank, exceptional communities, exceptional people. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Not every remodel project is as easy as the couple on the Home Improvement Channel make it look. From old furniture to construction debris, a home remodel can quickly turn into a junk pile. 2 Men and a Junk Truck is here to make your home improvement dreams a reality. They offer hassle-free junk removal and dumpster rentals to clear the way for your next big project.
Perfect.
Use code REMODEL25 to save $25 on your next service. 2 Men and a Junk Truck, making your home improvement journey a breeze. Visit 2menandajunkTruck.com. Offer valid at 2 Men and a Junk Truck, Champaign, Illinois.
Tim Culver, owner and president of Classic Plumbing and Air.
A plumber is a person that is well-rounded. They have education, they have experience, and they are versed in more than only one phase of plumbing. A plumber is someone that has experience in all 3 phases, and they understand how all 3 of these plumbing aspects work together as well.
Was in the heating and air conditioning business for approximately 30 years and then retired in 2021. So I came out of retirement because I'm very big on taking care of our local community. The most satisfying part of my job is when I know that I've done the right thing for the customer, taking care of the customer's happy, and when I walk out the door that I'm not afraid to put a sign out in front of their house that says, "This job was done by Chuck Thompson, Classic Plumbing and Air."
Visit them at classicplum.com.
I'm John Phillips, running for City of Champaign Township Supervisor, and I need your vote today. Township plays a crucial role in the managing of the budget and allocating funds to support the well-being of all residents, especially the most vulnerable. The unhoused community in Champaign is a complex problem and requires a complex solution from a strong leader. Downtown Champaign is facing increasing challenges due to the unhoused crisis. Businesses are leaving, storefronts sit empty, and public safety concerns grow. The current approach isn't working. I will work to develop sustainable solutions that provide care and stability for the unhoused while ensuring downtown remains a vibrant place to live, work, and visit. I love Champaign, and I am committed to making changes for the better. Give me the opportunity to lead us in the right direction. Please vote for me, John Phillips, for City of Champaign Township Supervisor. Leadership you can see, presence you will feel. Visit voteforjohnphillips.com. Early voting is happening now.
Paid for by Friends of John Phillips. It's time to plan your summer swimming season. Urbana Park District is selling pool memberships to Crystal Lake Park Family Aquatic Center. Memberships are on sale through April. The pool opens Memorial Day weekend. Single, family, senior, and veteran rates available. Purchase memberships in person at Phillips Recreation Center, 505 West Stoughton, or at Urbana Indoor Aquatic Center. Call 217-367-1544 for details. Urbana Park District, you belong here.
Point! Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Ace, you're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
My name is Jim Brookins. I own my lawn care service for over 15 years now. I've met a lot of great people doing this. Most of the people I meet, they become great friends. I do edging, weed eating. I blow everything off so it looks fantastic when I'm done. I believe, in my mind, I do the best. Usually my average range is usually around $40 per yard. You can call me 217-621-8807. 217-621-8807.
Back on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. We'll get to your text on the Max Twin City Recycling text line, 217-359-2255. You want to weigh in? Jeff says, where would he fit next year? Different player than KJ. I've heard he's a slasher and great distributor. Very adequate shooter, 6'6", 195. I'm assuming, Jeff, are you talking about Josh Dix? I would imagine. Oh, no. Dame Sarr is ultimately who he's asking about. Dame Sarr from Italy, played with KJ on the Barcelona junior national team. Well, I guess it wasn't junior national team. It's Barcelona's pro team on their junior team last year, and those two were teammates. Sarr is, yes, a slasher, very good athlete, good defender, known to be a high feel IQ guy, somebody who can make passes, make people around him better. The shooting part of it, it's hard because I know he's been playing a lot more recently. He's on the Barcelona A team, and for a long stretch of this season was a guy that was deep on their bench and wasn't playing a whole lot. He's gotten some more minutes here recently. He's had some really nice performances. Through his career, he's been an up and down shooter. He's had stretches where he's played in some of these FIBA events and different things where, you know, maybe he's shot 35% on an event a week or whatever it might be, and other times he's dipped below that. So I don't expect him to be. You never know how a guy translates. He has played good competition and even just practicing every day against pros, you know, grown men, which is, you know, obviously what Tommy was doing last year. How that translation will ultimately be, but I wouldn't think he'd be a knockdown shooter. I think he'd be a guy, yes, slasher, defender, and somebody that can see the floor and make some distribution. So that's the way that I've seen him and how I would characterize him. And Illinois has prioritized him very heavily, but he is still uncommitted, and we'll see how that plays out going forward. Big Def, I love KJ still, but Josh Dix's assist-to-turnover ratio was way better than if you added both KJ and Riley's assisted turnovers together from this past year. He also adds that I'd make it known to to Josh Dix that you'd have to take less money to go elsewhere, not just a spot-up shooter, seeing him constantly move off the ball to find second window space and create his own catch-and-shoot opportunities beyond his other offensive talents. Has won my heart and my mind. He says, Kylan, Dix, Trey, Merez, Tommy, all caps, Natty. I love the enthusiasm, Big Dep. That'd be a good lineup. What do you think about that lineup, Kyle?
I'd like it. I'd like it quite a bit. Yeah, I think Dix would fit what Illinois needs a lot from that guard spot. And you check off a lot of the boxes with the shooting, the scoring ability, and I do think, now I think the assist-to-turnover stat probably needs to be taken with some context in that Dix probably had less playmaking responsibility and less on-ball responsibility than both Riley and KJ did. But I do think he at least, 2.8 assists a game is nothing to scoff at, right? He's at least a facilitator out there. But I think that lineup that'd got to be a preseason, top 3-4 team in the Big Ten, you'd have to think.
For sure. I wonder what the bench would look like. That's still obviously very much in flux. Let's talk about this a little bit. And I told you this off the air, and I'm fine with sharing it here and having a conversation about it. I've been surprised to hear recently over the last few days. I say surprised. Maybe I shouldn't be as surprised. I do think some of the context is going to matter. Some of the situation is going to matter. And this is only framing from one side of things. But I've heard that Illinois is making a pretty clear case to Ty Rodgers that they want him back. And I didn't expect to hear it like that. I'm not to say that Illinois was going to kick Ty to the curb and say, hey, man, you redshirted. Yeah, you started for the Elite Eight team, and we'll see you later. We'll see you maybe pop up at Michigan State or wherever ultimately you're going to go. And I do believe, you get caught in some of the public narrative and things that get said, and people play nice sometimes. And I think Ty is very well liked, truly, around the program, well respected for who he is as a guy, how hard of a worker he is. I think from Kyle, right after Illinois loses to Kentucky, we talked about, I said, and I think you and I were on a similar page, Illinois needs to get more athletic. They need to get tougher. They need to get older. That's what I used as kind of my three. Not to say it's the only thing, but I think a Ty Rodgers on your team makes you those things. Mm-hmm. He would be an older guy as a redshirt junior. He would be certainly a good athlete, certainly very tough, and he brings a lot of intangibles. I think the question associated with that, okay, in what role? In what role would he be brought back? In what role would he be willing to accept? Would he be a guy, because obviously he redshirted because he wasn't ready to accept the role that was in front of him going into this year, where Trey White was higher on the pecking order, where Will Riley was higher on the pecking order, and he was going to be coming off the bench, and he didn't play all that much at Ole Miss, and he struggled in that game, and had heard that he had some struggles throughout the offseason as well. Certainly, I know he's worked on the shot a lot. Until we see it in games, it's going to be hard to buy into it being a factor in his game. You have Merez Johnson. You hope to have Merez Johnson at least going forward.
Has there been anything that you've heard just from – it's been a year now that he's had just to work out and obviously improve his game. Has that been a focus for him? Like this year, sitting out all the time I've been in the gym, I have made it a goal I want to shoot. Or is that something that it's just kind of – well, it's probably just not going to happen. He is who he is.
The people around that are in the building every day would tell you that he has shot the ball. Like on scout team, why wouldn't he, right? Like
sure.
You just put up some shots and get comfortable and get confident in it. And his teammates, I remember talking to Kylan Boswell back in the summer, and he's like, hey, I can't wait for you guys to see the work that Ty's put in and ultimately what he's been able to do with that. Now, we didn't really get a chance to see that happen at all because we don't get a look at practice and we don't get a chance, after he redshirted, to see him in any kind of non-conference, any kind of outside of the exhibition game against Ole Miss. So it's hard to really know. And there is a difference, as this team was a good example of. There's a difference between shooting it up and shooting in games, right? And Brad talked about how elite of a shooting team they were when they were in a practice setting or a warm-up setting, and you go out there and then they weren't able to get it done. So I think for me personally, it's kind of been like I'll believe it when I see it type of thing. I do feel like there's been a kind of a mental block with him. In addition, they were trying to clean up some of his mechanics and those type of things. But can they get him confident enough to make that shot? I'm not saying he needs to be a 35% three-point shooter. It would just be nice if he could be willing to take a couple and make an occasional three. But I'll say this before I throw it back to you, Kyle. I do like the thought. I do think, although him and Mrez, in my opinion, can't play together, if it's a lineup with Tommy at the 5 and then Ty out there with 3 other shooters, I like the idea of Ty cutting to the basket with Tommy having the ball. Like, we saw Will do that. We saw Kylan do that. Trey do that. I do like that. I do like maybe he gets some mouse in the house matchups and he's booty balling somebody down there. I love his rebounding. I love his physicality. What do you make of what I've shared as far as that goes and how much you'd want Ty Rodgers back on this team?
I kind of go back and forth on it because I really like Ty and everything he brings, his mindset, his toughness. Like you said, he does check the boxes of athlete, physical, tough, rebounder, dog, like all that type of stuff that maybe Illinois was missing other than, Mrez Johnson and certain other guys inconsistently this year. So I mean, he brings so many things you love. I do wonder about what the on-court fit looks like in lineups where you have Mrez Johnson and you have Trey White and, whoever else you might have. I'm still scarred from the way it ended with him as a sophomore, just with how much he limited Illinois offensively. Could he have vastly improved his offensive game to a point where maybe he is a threat if you play 20 feet off of him to make a shot on you? Maybe he has. He's had a whole year we haven't seen anything of him. So I do wonder what types of improvements he could have made in over a year before we see him again next November, what that could look like. I'm skeptical until I see it in terms of like him really expanding his offensive game all that much. So that's where I wonder, like, what kind of role would he be in? He can't be a starter if you're starting Mrez. Like you said, if Mrez is coming back to start with Tommy, he can't start. So are you saying, okay, you're going to come off the bench and just play all the non-Mrez minutes, so it's going to kind of be like a 4 rotation between Mrez and Ty alongside Tommy? I think I could get talked into that in terms of, okay, you're going to be an elite rebounding team. There's going to be no drop-off in any lineup with offensive rebounding. I think Ty, as a defender, has always shown a ton of upside. He's been inconsistent, especially as a sophomore, but I think he was playing out of position a little bit. If you're telling me he's a forward full-time and not a guard, I think that'll help his defensive game. And I think that's a great point that you made that I really didn't even think about, how well he could fit with Tommy offensively in terms of you space Tommy out at the top of the key with the ball in his hands, and then you've got Ty cutting and moving off the ball and using his athleticism and his size and physicality. I think that could be intriguing. So I don't know. I mean, I'd like to have Ty on this team. I just need to have more clarity on what that role would look like, and I would have concerns about certain lineups with him in it, particularly ones with Mrez.
I guess one of the problems that just came to mind, and I don't know why I didn't think of it originally, you talk as far as the pairing between him and Tommy, I just got a flash of Zach Edey sitting at the rim because he doesn't have to go out and guard Coleman Hawkins because Ty Rodgers is on the floor. And no, not everybody has Zach Edey, not everybody has Donovan Clingan, but that would again kind of emphasize, can Ty make a jump shot? If he can't, then I don't know that you can play him at the Big Ten big minutes. Like I just don't know if you can, because does it then limit some of Tommy's effectiveness because you can stick your 5-man around the paint and say, I'm the Ty Rodgers assignment. I'm not going to go out to the 3-point line and guard him because I don't have to. And that's something that worries me about Ty Rodgers until proven otherwise.
Could he get like a 15-foot game and that would eliminate some of that to where it's like, okay, he's on the perimeter, he takes 2 dribbles and floats one up or hits a pull-up jump shot or something?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't – it is the thing, though. I don't know if I'm going to believe that he's going to be more than a guy that's effective out. inside of 10 feet until I see it on the floor.
Right.
Maybe he has added that. Maybe he's worked his butt off at it, and he's going to be a guy that you at least can't completely disrespect. I would need to see that to believe it.
Yep.
I would more so than just even the scrimmage videos we saw before this year.
Yeah, and I think another thing that comes to mind is there, for him personally especially, is there too much overlap between him and Trey White? Is Trey White going to block him from playing big minutes because they're too similar, or because Trey White gives you a lot of Ty Rodgers things that then add some shooting? I think to play them together, Trey would have to be a legit 3-point shooter. Like, and he was down the stretch of this year, but can he be a plus shooter, not even just like an average to below average 3-point shooter to go with Ty Rodgers? I do worry again, because like you bring back Merez, you expect Merez to play like 25 minutes a game, right? That's another thing as well. But if Ty is willing, and I'll kind of pair this with what Big Def said on the Max Twin City Recycling text line, if Ty's willing to say, I really like it here at Illinois, you want me back, I'll come back and earn what I get. It's not going to be a guaranteed starting spot. It's not going to be a crazy amount of NIL, anything too guaranteed. And I wonder about that. Not the NIL part more so, but he's got 2 years left. He obviously didn't want the role that he had this year, that he may want to go somewhere and start. Now, I know Michigan State's been a speculated spot. Would he start? I don't think he'd start on that team. They can bring back a lot of pieces from this year's roster. I know that Jace Richardson's probably not one of them, but Cohen Carr's back, and I would expect at least, or he could come back. And you got a lot of some of their forwards.
Those would be some shaky fits with some of the non-shooting on that team too.
Yeah, so I wonder how that goes. But Big Def said Ty was my favorite guy on last year's team. Continue to root for him wherever he goes. But unless he'd be happy to come off the bench, I'd tell him to either transfer or give Justin Stepp a call, gain 15 pounds, and be a stud Illini wide receiver. I could see that, but not actually happening. But Bill says only one person can play the weak side dunker spot. Between him and that's a big part of the fit questions, right?
Yeah.
So
I do think, though, from a leadership perspective, like him and Kylan leading your team next year, a guy in Ty who would be in his 4th year in the program, paired with Kylan, who is coming back for his 2nd year as a senior from Champaign, like you'd have 2 guys that I would feel really comfortable with from a leadership perspective in those 2 next year. And I've even heard, whether it was one of you guys who put it out, or I saw a quote from somebody who had spoken with Ty. Forgive me for not knowing who it was, but they were somebody, like teammates were talking about how Ty, even during this redshirt year, has been a huge voice throughout the season. So I think that, there's so much intangible stuff that Ty does bring, and you love him as a player, and just everything about, his just the way he approaches things and the toughness he has. It is tough. It limits you so much offensively if he's going to be who he's been throughout his college career as an offensive player. So I agree that I would need to be assured that it's a role that is very limited in terms of like a 7th, 8th man off the bench. There's not a ton of guarantees there for me to feel really comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's fair. Continue to weigh in, 217-359-2255, Max Twin City Recycling text line. On Ty Rodgers, on other options in the portal, we can talk about that as we go along. But let's shift gears going into the next hour. Talk some Sweet 16, look at the matchups. What's the top games that you're going to want to watch, and what are Kyle and I feeling as far as who's going to make it to the Elite Eight? We'll do that next. It is The Drive.
Here's what new customers are saying about Interstate Batteries.
It's nice to see capable and helpful associates. They did a top-notch job.
They were easy to talk to and explained everything.
Service was prompt and I was a walk-in. Total service time was only like 20 minutes. I highly recommend Interstate Batteries.
Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable. How much is dependable worth? Experience them for the first time at 2504 North Mattis. Way out there, but worth the drive. Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable.
Visit interstatebatteries.com.
Join Cunningham Children's Home on April 4th and 5th for the 21st Annual Festival of Quilts. It's a celebration you don't want to miss. Enjoy a stunning quilt show and sale, shop for home decor and gifts, enjoy home-baked treats from the bake sale, take a campus tour, and more. This tradition is more than just a festival, it's a chance to raise critical funds for the youth and families Cunningham serves each year. Don't miss the Festival of Quilts, April 4th and 5th. Visit cunningham.org to learn more.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Fox News. A federal appeals court just ruling against the Trump administration in a fight over deporting suspected gang members. A federal appeals court panel upholding an order that temporarily prohibits deportations under a centuries-old wartime law. That court fight is expected to continue. The administration still fighting a war of words over the group chat that mistakenly included a reporter and shared information about pending airstrikes on Houthi rebels in Yemen. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth telling reporters today that no one texted war plans.
There's no units, no locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information.
Some Democrats in Congress still calling for his resignation. Alaska Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski just out with a statement calling the chat an egregious security breach and accusing the administration of disregard for stringent safeguards and secure channels. U.S. Army Europe says search operations continue after the vehicle of 4 U.S. soldiers who were training was found submerged in water. It happened in Lithuania, not far from the border with Belarus. President Trump renewing a call to Congress to pass one big beautiful bill for his agenda, including an extension of the 2017 tax cuts set to expire beginning later this year.
It'll be the largest tax cuts in American history. When you add that onto the fact that if they don't pass this, you will have the largest tax increase by far.
Republicans could also push for raising the debt ceiling as part of a final bill. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer accuses the president and his DOJ team of trying to kill Social Security.
They've revealed their true colors. Trump and Musk are just eroding the American dream.
The nominee to lead the Social Security Administration told lawmakers this week the president wants to preserve the program. America is listening to Fox News.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose. And millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Vice President and Marine veteran J.D. Vance visiting the Quantico base in Virginia.
I think under new leadership, the Marine Corps and the entire United States military is headed in the right direction.
Later this week, he'll be in Greenland, joining a U.S. delegation already planned.
Although the Second Lady was initially scheduled to go solo to watch a dog sled race and visit some historical sites, the Vice President is now going as well. Together, they will receive a briefing on Arctic security issues and meet with U.S. service members.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. President Trump has suggested the U.S. should control Greenland for security reasons. Greenland's Prime Minister calls this week's planned visit very aggressive. The heads of PBS and NPR denying Republican claims of a left-wing bias at a DOJ subcommittee hearing, where PBS CEO Paula Kerger also said they focus on the needs of viewers.
Especially in rural areas, PBS stations are the only outlet providing coverage of local events.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who chairs the panel, questions continued taxpayer-funded contributions to public broadcasting. Lady Gaga's tour is expanding with new dates across North America, Europe, and the UK.
After wrapping previously announced spring shows in Mexico, Brazil, and Singapore, plus a highly anticipated headlining spot at Coachella in April, the Mayhem Ball Tour will officially launch in Las Vegas in July, with 3 dates at New York's iconic Madison Square Garden and 2 at Chicago's United Center. Seattle and Miami are also on the bill. In September, She'll head overseas for 3 nights in London before hitting major cities in Europe. General tickets go on sale April 3rd. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Stocks finish in the red. The Dow dropping 132 points. The S&P sliding more than 1%. The NASDAQ down 372 points. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather for East Central Illinois, Champaign and vicinity. Pretty decent day's worth of late March weather across the region with a partly cloudy sky. Highs here in East Central Illinois at about 55 with maybe a sprinkle and snowflake early on this morning, shifting south and east of the area. West-northwesterly breeze. Clouds will roll back in tonight down to 38. Next weather system developing warm front today tomorrow. Has some rain in the morning and again in the afternoon. More likely there, the high near 60 on light southeast to south winds. Rain early tomorrow night. Showers, maybe a thunderstorm after midnight, and a milder low tomorrow night down into the upper 40s, and a breezy, much warmer Friday, partly sunny, maybe a shower chance in the morning, the high about 77. Showers and a couple of thunderstorms Saturday as well as early Sunday. 73 on Saturday, 67 and dropping on Sunday, then colder weather early next week, briefly Monday, touch of rain early up to 48, sunshine back in Tuesday at 53, into the 60s, and more rain back in the forecast mid next week as well. For TVJ Broadcasting, I'm meteorologist Greg Solgay.
It is the Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. We'll continue to get some transfer portal thoughts, Illini basketball, talking points that you want to hit on the Max Twin City Recycling text line. We're all ears as we go along through this hour, but did want to get to some Sweet 16 thoughts as we have some really exciting games set to tip off tomorrow night and, of course, Friday as well. But with us not being on tomorrow, wanted to get especially the Thursday games previewed. If not, just look across the entire Sweet 16 slate and look at the games that we're most looking forward to watching and some picks we might want to throw out there as well. But let's start with the Thursday slate, Kyle. Let's look at the matchups. The first game on CBS, BYU and Bama. That'll be out there in Newark. That's at 6:09 Central, 6:39 tip-off. On TBS and True TV, Maryland against Florida in San Fran. And then the late night tips, Newark, Duke, and Arizona at 8:39 on CBS. And then the final one, 9:09 in San Fran on TBS, Texas Tech, 3 seed, Arkansas, the 10, upset both Kansas and then St. John's. So which of those 4 are you most looking forward to, Kyle, coming up tomorrow night?
BYU Alabama is going to be insane. That game is going to be awesome. 2 incredible offensive teams, 2 fast-playing teams. The total is 175.5. I think that could be an electric game. Bama, we know, we've seen them the last couple years and how good they can be when they're on. Mark Sears hasn't even played well so far in this tournament. If he gets going, plus everything else they have, and BYU's been like one of the best teams in the country since like the start of February. Have they've lost a game other than that Big 12 tournament game to Houston? I'm not sure they have.
Since February 9th, the only loss they have is against Houston in the Big 12 tournament.
They've been on fire. Watching them against Wisconsin, they can't miss right now. That offense is rolling, and I think that could be a high-level, high-scoring, back-and-forth, really, really fun game. I'm very excited to see that one.
You look at Richie Saunders, who went off for 25 points in that Wisconsin game, where they win. They hit 12 threes. Familiar face, Yegor Demon, 11 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds. Flirting with a triple-double there. He hasn't even been that awesome in terms of like the production overall for them. But, they're a super fun watch as far as what they do offensively. Mawat Mag from Rutgers has been doing some things for them as well as an older guy, good athlete. So, that was something that we tabbed very early in the matchup saying, hey, Wisconsin, Alabama would be really fun, but BYU has been an elite offense in their own right. And anytime you see 175 as a total, that sounds like a fireworks show that everybody wants to watch. I think I'm most looking forward to Florida and Maryland, though. and I picked Florida in my bracket. They're just one of the most fun watches out there in college basketball. When Walter Clayton Jr., what he's able to do. He didn't have a great game against UConn, but he did come up very clutch for them down the stretch. Ended up hitting 5 threes in that game. But Elijah Martin's great. I think one of the things you appreciate about Florida the more you watch them is their front court depth and what they have up front. Well, Maryland has as good a front court as anybody out there with Derek Queen, who hits the game winner against Colorado State, and Julian Reese as well. And don't sleep on their guards, man. I know that Clayton, between him and Braden Smith, regarded as the top 2 point guards in the country, but Jacoby Gillespie has been phenomenal all year long, and we know what Maryland can look like when they're bombing threes as well. So I know they just survived Colorado State, although you shouldn't probably be too fooled by seeing the 12 seed next to Colorado State. They were favored in the first round for a reason. They were a really good team. And this is kind of an aside, but I just think some of the Kevin Willard sideshow has added to the intrigue with Maryland. I don't know. If he pulls this upset and takes them into an Elite Eight, he's going to have just incredible leverage. So I'm kind of here for the show for that presents, but I just think in general, Florida is a team I want to catch as much of as possible, and a lot of respect for Maryland too, because they got to be riding high off of that emotional win against Colorado State.
Florida is just such a complete team. Like, there's no holes on that team. You've got 3 guards in your starting lineup. All 3 of them can go get a bucket. Walter Clayton's one of the best point guards in America and can distribute, but he's also a clutch shot maker. And, I mean, you got Elijah Martin and Will Richard, 2 guys who can shoot the lights out. And then you've got a rotation of 3 bigs who are all great rebounders, really good defensively. I know, is it Huck or Haw?
It's spelled like Haw, but I think it's Hawk or something
like that. And he's got some skill to him, can step out. So they just
Condon's really good.
Condon's
too.
good. Yeah, they bring in Chinyalu off the bench, who's just kind of one of those physical dogs. Gets on the offensive glass. Like they've got a guy for everything. They've got such a great roster mix. It was hard for me to not pick them to win it all. If there wasn't such a great Duke team, I probably would have taken them. Also, their region's been really difficult. I mean, even starting with running into the 2-time champs in the first weekend, and now you got Maryland and maybe Texas Tech, 2 really good teams. That should be a really good one. Maryland's starting 5 is one of the best in the country. They don't have anything off the bench, but those 5, hard to build a better starting 5 than 2 outstanding bigs, one of them a potential NBA lottery pick, and then 3 guys who all shoot about 40% from 3 around them at the guard and wing spot. Like that's going to be a great game.
I was listening to the SV pod. I don't know if you checked that out with Scott Van Pelt and Stanford Steve, and they were talking about, I don't know if this was just them storytelling or if this is a real thing that got shared in the post game, but did Derek Queen really in the huddle be like, give me the you-know-what ball?
That's what Kevin Willard said to Andy Katz in the post-game on-the-court interview. Andy's like, what'd you draw up there? He's like, well, I asked everybody who wants the ball, and Derek Queen said, give me the MF ball. So I gave it to him.
I love it. That's pretty awesome. So, I mean, I know that Kevin Willard's maybe not the most likable coach in the Big Ten. Like, if you're going against him, you might think he's a little smug or whatever it might be. I think he's a really good coach. And I know he's had some run-ins with Illinois, but yeah, I mean, you appreciate the story of Queen and what he's done, and yeah, their team is, their starting 5, like you said, is stacked. Rodney Rice has had a really, really good year, especially last 2 months of what he was doing. And on the Florida side, it's kind of like, did they show their vulnerability? I was hesitant to pick them. I loved watching them. It almost felt like, number one, I don't like going chalky, but at the same time, you also worry about, is a team like that going to run out of steam? Is a team that is the hottest team in the country going into the tournament gonna hit a wall or just run out of gas at some point? I guess you're wondering, that UConn performance, does that show that they are more vulnerable than they were? Did they peaked too soon? Or that might have just been one of their possible gotcha spots, but they survived it, and that might be ultimately how it plays out.
Yeah, I think you could probably look at it 2 different ways. One, maybe they did show some weaknesses, and maybe, if UConn makes some shots, because UConn's missing some open threes in that game, they could have lost that game. You also could look at it as maybe it's a good little wake-up call for them with how hot they've been, and it could be good for them to just be in a tense, like, season on the line, got to go make a play moment, and they did. And now if they see, which they probably will, more of those, they'll be prepared. Of course, Maryland just saw one, too, and had a pretty spectacular moment. So, I don't know. I still am really high on Florida. I'd take them to win this game. The spread, I think, is 6.5. I could see Florida pulling away late and getting this to, 11, 12-point victory. I think Maryland should hang around, but Florida's the better team, and I do think they probably at least get to the Elite Eight, where I do think a matchup with Texas Tech would be pretty spectacular.
No doubt. They do call it survive in advance for a reason, both those teams getting it done in crunch time. You mentioned Texas Tech, 3 seed, going to play in San Francisco against the 10 seed. Look at John Calipari. It would have been really – I mean, Illini fans would have loved it for their own selfish reasons, but can you imagine if it would have been Illinois knocking out Kentucky and Calipari gets to the Sweet 16 and Kentucky doesn't? That would have been fun.
That would have been.
Hopefully it didn't happen that way, but there is still kind of like, all right, who's going to go farther? Would one advance another round past the other one? Arkansas, we know, has been very talented throughout this season. They just underachieved. They started, 0-5 in SEC play.
Mm-hmm.
John L. Davis had a really slow start to this year, although he's looked to have stepped up in postseason play, played a lot better. I know, Billy Richmond, who had a good game against St. John's. It wasn't a very pretty game. Both teams combined to go like 4 for 40 from 3. But does Arkansas have any dancing left in those shoes, you think?
They could. They're playing pretty well right now. Now I think they're getting Thero back for this game, so they're going to be fully healthy, which I think you'll need against Texas Tech because they've got some size. I don't know. I personally have been super high on Texas Tech all year. I mean, they went to Houston and won. That was the only game Houston lost in the Big 12. Even in the other game, I think they had 3 guys out and were pretty close at home with Houston. Like, they've been just silently getting it done, and now I think they're still banged up. They're missing.
Are they going to get McMillan back?
Who, I don't know. He's been like, won't he play for a month straight? So I probably lean towards he's done. But even still, like, JT Toppin on the inside's a force. Can Arkansas handle him with the way Adu has started to play? You could see that happening. John L. Davis has been in plenty of these games before he's starting to play well. It's possible. I could see Arkansas. I mean, they've got the talent. When those guys are clicking and they're getting the performances they've finally started to get from Adu, Brazil, Davis, Richmond, all those guys, they could win this game. I'll say it probably ends here to Texas Tech, but I think that could be a pretty competitive one.
I see Big Z's not been playing a whole lot recently.
He fouled out in like 10 minutes.
Is that right?
Yeah, I saw a funny clip. Like, somebody was asking Tommy in the locker room over the weekend, did we pull you away from watching your brother? Tommy's like, he fouled out, so I'm good. He fouled out in like 10 minutes of play. He's like, he's not playing that much. They're going with Adu.
If he went in the portal, would you want him?
Now that fit would be. Would he play the 3 for Illinois?
I don't think. Yeah, he wouldn't play.
Tallest lineup in Division I.
7'2", 245. You'd probably have to come off the bench to come here. But
here's Illinois' starting lineup: 6'2" Boswell, 6'6", 7'2", 6'9", 7'1". And good luck.
Right. I'll say, I think the McMillan status is interesting. I haven't followed that super closely, but he is one of the best shooters out there in the country. Shot 44% on a high volume throughout the year. I've liked that Texas Tech team as well, what I've seen of them. Elijah Hawkins, the transfer from Minnesota at point guard, Toppin, and Darian Williams. Those two are studs. They both had 20-plus, I think, against Drake. 28 for Williams and 25 for Toppin. So I just don't fully trust Arkansas yet, but it is one of those where they just had to get to the tournament and get through whatever they needed to get through, and now they've got a lot of talent to rock with. So we'll be looking forward to that one. Duke and Arizona, we mentioned point spreads. That's the biggest one on Thursday. Duke, a 9.5-point favorite against Caleb Love in Arizona. Uh-oh, a Caleb Love versus Duke game again. Could he do it to them again? That would be funny.
That's hilarious that's the matchup here. This is could be Caleb Love's last game, and it's against Duke again. I don't think so. Duke's going to win.
Yeah, Duke's too much. I didn't get a chance to see, as I was covering Illinois, as much other basketball as I wanted to. How has Flagg looked since returning?
He's looked totally normal to me based on what I've seen. I don't know what his line ultimately was against Baylor, but I couldn't even tell he's hurt. He looks totally fine. And I think Rothstein tweeted earlier today they could get Malik Brown back for this game.
Wow.
So them at full strength, yeah, I feel good having them as my title pick right now. I just think it'll be so hard to beat them. I would be very interested at what a Final Four matchup versus Houston could look like, because that's a team that I think could frustrate Duke. I don't think anyone in this region's frustrating Duke. They're rolling right now. They're giving off some like UConn, just on to the next. Let's beat this team by 14. Next one, 16-point win. Like at Arizona could. I mean, if they're hitting shots and Caleb Love has that look in his eye again against Duke, sure, it could be a game, but give me Duke, and I wouldn't even really want any part of taking Arizona to cover 9.5.
Right. Flagg against Baylor, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists in 29 minutes. That's nuts. And Proctor's been shooting the cover off the ball. I think he had 7 threes on 8 attempts against Baylor. I think he had 6 in the first round. It was a guy that wasn't shooting very well at the ACC tournament until, the final, I guess against Louisville, he had 6. So the last 3 games combined, he's made, 19 threes. He's been a heck of a piece for them as an older guy with those young pieces of Flagg, Knipple, Malawach. Malawach just, man, watching him play defense is, you just marvel at how much space he can cover. He can switch on anybody. He's a freak athlete.
I don't know how you score on Duke. Like, you just got to be nuclear from 3. That's all you're going to get on them, because how do you get to the rim with Malawach and Flagg on the floor?
Yeah.
Plus, you have Proctor, who's really good, and Sion James, who's really good on the perimeter. Like, how do you score on this team? It's not even the offensive side. Yeah, they're shooting it well. Flagg is incredible, but where I really am terrified of Duke is defensively, as we saw against Illinois, although, of course, they also scored 110. But I don't know how you score on that team.
Sion James is – I love him as a piece for them. I mean, he played – was he a 4-year guy at Tulane? Yes. 4-year guy at Tulane, makes the transfer, and he is just built, man. 6'6",
one of the stronger guards you'll find.
And, shooting 40% from 3. He's a guy you can't leave there. Illinois tried dorking him a little bit. It didn't work. And, can get to the rim and defensively, just good luck trying to turn the corner on that guy and use physicality to get to the paint. They're loaded. They're a machine. And I think that continues to roll on. I'm with you. I think you just – maybe it is a UConn, just bet their number regardless. Like, they'll cover everything maybe. We'll see.
The Final Four could get interesting, because I do think between Auburn, Florida, and Houston, like, those are more challenging games than any game UConn would have seen the last 2 years, just from a team quality perspective. But as far as this region goes, as soon as the bracket came out, I'm like, I'd be floored if Duke gets much of a challenge in this whole region. I just think they're too good for that. However, there is they definitely could be challenged in terms of winning the national title. I just don't think this weekend is the weekend that they sweat all that much. I hope I'm wrong, though, for entertainment purposes.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. You'd light your bracket on fire for the good of the people?
I don't want Duke to win the title. If they lose, I'm fine with it. My bracket's bad enough that I don't think I'm winning any pools, even if they do win it. So I'll take an Arizona victory here, another Caleb Love Duke elimination.
I like that. Somebody said, I can't remember.
No, I'm not a big fan of Arizona right now either, for reasons.
Yeah,
Social
I know.
media reasons.
We need them out. Need to get them out for people that are interested. And if I'm being honest, let's get Kentucky out of here. Selfish. I want to get them out. I don't need any more. I don't need them going to the Final Four and having
no Kentucky shirts in the
those
media room and
tweeting at me being like,
San
"Hey,
Antonio.
is it all right for them to wear this at the Final Four?" Like, let's not. Not that it's bothered me. It really hasn't. I can take all the mentions that they want to throw my way. But yeah, speaking of Kentucky, let's talk about the Friday games here coming up. We'll do that in next segment. If you got your own ideas of what you think the Sweet 16 will turn out to be, rooting interests, brackets, betting advice, hit us up, 217-359-2255. Before we do that, let me do a little bit of work. Let me tell you about Busey. It's tax planning time. Taxes can be taxing. Rethink tax time with Busey. Their associates are here to help with expert advice and innovative products and services. Tax day is quickly approaching. The deadline to file, Tuesday, April 15th. Avoid costly penalties and keep money in your pocket by contributing to retirement accounts by April 15th. Organize your records. While you may not save your cash, you will save your time and unnecessary stress. Filing electronically to pocket your refund faster. Hey, did you know less than 1% of electronic returns have errors compared to 20% of paper returns? The typical taxpayer receives nearly $3,000. Make the most of your refund this year by paying down bad debt, building savings, retirement, and investment accounts, or establishing or restoring an emergency fund. Tax laws are complex and change frequently. Experts at Busey can help you by visiting Busey.com or by stopping by one of their many convenient locations to get started today on your maximum refund. Busey, member FDIC.
Well, tell me, Tim Onstad, how is it going at Gale Frericks Trucking?
Oh, we're busy. We're going gangbusters. We've got a new driver going through orientation. That leaves us one spot left for somebody that wants to get in on the action and make some money, be home, get some quality time. It's a great opportunity.
And the type of person you like hiring?
Honesty, integrity, like everybody else is looking for. That guy that wants to have a family life, but be able to make some good money and do the right things.
Are you looking for experienced drivers? And if they have a military background and things like that, that's always an asset.
We do need some experience. Of course, we like getting the guys 15 years in that know what they're doing, maybe have been treated bad by other companies and need a place looking for a home. If somebody has the basics, maybe a year and a half, has a military background, I'll count that as some experience because they're used to following the process. Oh, you can always email me at timo@gftlog.com.
Mom, she won't stop touching me. Broccoli stinks.
Guys, no phones at the table.
Family dinner time? Not easy. But you know what is easy? OSF On-Call Urgent Care. When you need convenient, affordable care for minor illnesses and injuries, you need OSF On-Call Urgent Care. Be seen in person or connect 24/7 online when and where you need it. Learn more at osfoncall.org/urgent care.
You've set your financial goals. One kid plans to go Big Ten, the other Ivy. Your bucket list includes seaside sunrises and sunsets on the slopes, or perhaps a second home away from it all. Busey Bank can help develop the right investment strategy to take charge of the years ahead. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
In 1925, a small plumbing company began its journey in Urbana, Illinois. Over the decades, the business grew thanks to hard work and great people. In 1966, things changed when Dave Reichard, a veteran, met veteran Ken Asklin, who was an architectural engineering grad from Illinois. The two realized their shared vision for excellence. Their partnership took root, and in 1975, the name changed to A&R Mechanical. With Dave as president and Ken as vice president, A&R Mechanical expanded services, becoming the go-to full-service contractor for all of Central Illinois. A&R went from a plumbing-only contractor to a full-service mechanical contractor with their own sheet metal shop. Today, A&R is a plumbing, heating, ventilation service company with the same excellence in customer service as they provided nearly 100 years ago. Design, build, and maintain. That's what served A&R Mechanical for nearly 100 years. Find them at Lincoln and Kettering in Urbana or online at ar-mech.com.
PDR Automotive has now been serving the Champaign-Urbana area for over 50 years. To give you some perspective, 50 years ago ended the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War, and it was when Secretariat won the Triple Crown. So what does that mean for you and your vehicle? Whether you need a carburetor overhauled or your new vehicle computer system diagnosed or programmed, PDR Automotive has the experienced, knowledgeable staff that can handle all your automotive needs. Online at pdrauto.com, they are what's best for your truck or car. They are PDR.
Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery has savings store-wide for the anniversary sale. Installation is half off Mohawk's waterproof luxury vinyl floors. The installation is free for Mohawk Carpet. And get up to $1,000 instant rebate on Mohawk carpets and floors. Instant rebates on all furniture. Plus, buy it all 2 years free financing. Don't miss the anniversary sale going on now at Carpet Weavers.
Well, tell me, Tim Onstott, lawn mowing season soon, Dixie Chopper, dedicated diesel. It's off Route 45 as you're heading toward Rantoul. You turn left on Triumph Drive till you can't drive anymore, and you'll be right there. And you got some Dixie Choppers I could buy.
Oh, yeah. Andy's got his hands full with Dixie Choppers, and stop by, see Andy, get a great deal on a mower.
Fastest mower you can buy, so you don't have to spend 2 hours out there. You might spend 45 minutes, and plus, Andy can tune it up or fix it.
Sure he can. Yeah, we got a full shop ready to go. Whatever you need.
When it comes to early on here in the spring, it can be, weeds up to your mid-thigh or whatever. So sometimes you need a really tough kind of mower to get through all that in the brush.
Well, yeah, these are built solid. They'll get through that stuff, and all of the structural components have a great warranty. So if something does go wrong, we can definitely get it fixed. Get Andy at Dedicated Diesel, 217-328-0562, or Dedicated Equipment on Facebook.
I'm John Phillips, running for City of Champaign Township Supervisor, and I need your vote today. Township plays a crucial role in the managing of the budget and allocating funds to support the well-being of all residents, especially the most vulnerable. The unhoused community in Champaign is a complex problem and requires a complex solution from a strong leader. Downtown Champaign is facing increasing challenges due to the unhoused crisis. Businesses are leaving, storefronts sit empty, and public safety concerns grow. The current approach isn't working. I will work to develop sustainable solutions that provide care and stability for the unhoused while ensuring downtown remains a vibrant place to live, work, and visit. I love Champaign. I am committed to making changes for the better. Give me the opportunity to lead us in the right direction. Please vote for me, John Phillips, for City of Champaign Township Supervisor. Leadership you can see, present you will feel. Visit voteforjohnphillips.com. Early voting is happening now.
Paid for by Friends of John Phillips.
Back on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Let's get into the Friday matchups in the Sweet 16. 6:09 CBS from Atlanta on Friday. 6-seed Ole Miss against 2-seed Michigan State. Ole Miss is playing out there in Milwaukee, same venue as the Illini, and man, they really owned Iowa State in that day 2 matchup or second round matchup. Had to get through North Carolina where they were up big, and Carolina stormed back. Ultimately fell short, but Chris Beard and company playing there in the first game on Friday. After that, or really about a half hour after that one tips, you'll have Kentucky and Tennessee tipping off in Indianapolis. Then the late games, 8:39 on CBS from Atlanta, number 1 seed Auburn against 5 seed Michigan. Atlanta fans, good luck figuring out who to root for in that one. Probably Michigan, right? And then 9:09 Indianapolis, 1 seed Houston. Congratulations, Houston. You get to play right in the backyard of the Boilers against 4 seed Purdue. All right, Kyle, I'll ask you the same one that I asked you for Thursday. Which of those games are you most looking forward to watching?
Kentucky, Tennessee, I think. I think that'll be a great game. We got to look at Kentucky. I think they're just an older veteran team, great offensive team. Tennessee, really good defensive team. Kentucky swept Tennessee in the regular season. You look at those matchups, Tennessee could not make a shot in either game. I still like Tennessee here, I think, to win, but I think that could be a really competitive game. You've got the conference rivalry already there, two fan bases that hate each other. Kentucky fans will be all over Indianapolis there. I'm sure Tennessee fans will make their way there pretty easily as well. I think that could be a pretty fun environment and game.
Yeah, I'm looking at that one as well. That's the obvious choice. Some of the other games are bigger spreads, although you do have Ole Miss and Michigan State being pretty close. I got selfish reasons for that one because I did pick Ole Miss to my Elite Eight and really want to be able to claim that I had that one right. I don't think a lot of people will have done the same thing. But ultimately, from a watchability standpoint, yeah, it is Tennessee and Kentucky. Zakai Ziegler's been playing awesome. I wonder how that looks against Lamont Butler, who obviously was awesome against the Illini and shutting down KJ and actually showed more offensive capabilities, which has been one of the big questions with Kentucky. Is he too hurt to add to what they got going offensively? Tennessee, so gritty, so tough. Lanier, when he's going, makes it difficult. But I came away really impressed by Kentucky. Amari Williams, his defense, his athleticism. Obviously, we've known Brea, we've known Otego-Away. I picked Tennessee, and that's where I would go, but I don't feel maybe as good about it now. Although it's so hard. It's the cliche. It's so hard to beat a team 3 times. And you look back at those matchups, both times that Kentucky beat them, both in Knoxville and in Lexington, they hit 12 threes in both. You do that again, probably going to outscore Tennessee.
And you look at one of those games, Tennessee was like 2 for 9 million from three. So, right? Yeah, it's not a great combination.
Man, I don't know. I like Tennessee. I like the way they were playing late in the year. They were really good at the SEC tournament, beating Auburn, and then they hung with Florida for a while, but obviously Florida was too much. But, yeah, I can't wait to see that one. Just rivalry standpoint, the environment should be amazing. And two teams very familiar with each other and very, very good.
How unlucky did Houston get being the furthest team from the regional site in the Sweet 16? That I mean, they didn't really have any great options, being that there was no Texas regional sites this year. So you would have had to either go out west or Indy. You weren't going to obviously get Atlanta because that's where Auburn was going to take as the number 1 seed. So it's just, I don't know. I think Houston should be the overwhelming favorite here, but you're running into Purdue and Indy. And then, like, if you're playing Kentucky in Indy.
It's true.
That's tough, man. And Houston already, in terms of fan bases, isn't the largest. So they're going to be playing road games in these two. And I think they're the best team, but that's a tough draw.
I don't know how you fix that. I don't know how you...
I don't think you can't.
You can't, right? It's just kind of an unlucky
just the luck
draw,
of the draw that Houston was a 1 seed and they didn't, it's not like Dallas was one of the regional sites this year.
Right. You do feel like Purdue, especially the way they finished their season. We talked about just them getting a 4, but a 4 in a region where you're, hey, here's Indy if you make it to the second weekend. But ultimately, this isn't Mackey. It might feel like Mackey there at Lucas Oil, but it won't quite be the same thing. Houston, I just really like them in this matchup.
Yeah, I think they dominate Purdue.
Yeah, the athleticism that they have to throw at that Purdue team.
They trap every ball screen. Braden Smith won't be able to get a shot up. Trey Kaufman-Renton, seeing the physicality of Houston's front court with what he's dealt with.
Yeah. They love to double the post. That's something that they've been doing for a long time.
Yeah, they blitz ball screens and they double the post. That's how you take away those two guys. So it's going to have to be like Fletcher Lawyer hitting 10 threes for Purdue to stay in this game.
Cam Heide will get some looks from the corner, but we've seen Purdue, and as Braden's got older and more established, it was very like when those two were younger, the Lawyer and Smith combo, and of course that's what Fairleigh Dickinson did to him, right? In that 1 seed knockoff where they just got up into him and pressured him, and they turned the ball over a bunch. That's still kind of been a formula with Purdue is. Can you just out-physical them, use your athleticism to turn them over? And I think that Houston will just overwhelm them, ultimately. That goes into a question that 217 sent in on the Max Twin City Recycling text line. Over under 1 win by a Big Ten team in the Sweet 16. They could all go down. Michigan on Friday, you got 3 cracks at it. Maryland on Thursday. Michigan State will be favored by 3.5 against Ole Miss. Houston, as we just said, is an 8.5-point favorite over Purdue. And then Auburn is an 8.5-point favorite over Michigan. What do you think, Kyle? Where would you put the over on? Would you go over or under 1? If you had to say, if 1 is what the expected with Michigan State, which I want to talk more about that matchup, but is it more likely to have 2 or more likely to have 0?
I think it's probably more likely to have 0 because I'm not even sure Michigan State wins. I think they probably do, but I think it's more likely to have 0. Don't see a world where Purdue wins. Maryland, I'd be surprised. I actually think Michigan has an underrated chance here. I've been kind of down on Auburn recently. I think they've shown some cracks, and I do like the fact that Michigan can throw the front court pieces they have at Auburn, who wants to dominate you in the front court. Don't think you'll necessarily be able to do that against Michigan. Also think Michigan, with the way Wolf can handle it, can hurt Auburn's front court defensively with Broome and Cardwell and those guys. And I've never been a huge fan. Like, I think Auburn will have the backcourt advantage, but I've never been a huge fan of Auburn's guards. It's more so been a front court run team. So I think Michigan could hang in that game, and they kind of do that. They hang around, they play close games. Auburn, I just think, has not played as well here lately. I still think Auburn would win that game, though. So I'd say 0. I'd go under if I had to go one way.
I would go under, too. If it was over under a half, was you're either taking 1 or you're taking 0, 1 plus or 0. I think that would be a tougher choice for me.
I'd say I'd take the over 0.5.
Yeah. Again, I have Ole Miss in my bracket beating Michigan State. I think that the matchup's really interesting because, not to bounce around too much here, but Michigan State's front court wise, they're fantastic on the glass. It's something that Ole Miss really lacks. Although I still say that when you look at Michigan State, Zapala and Kohler, and those guys don't scare me in terms of like them pounding you inside. If they want to throw the ball into Kohler 10, 12 times, I'll live with it if I'm an opponent.
They don't even play Zapala much anymore. He starts, and then they go down by 8, and then Izzo's like, "You're done," and then it's like Cooper, and it's so weird. Like he won't change the starting lineup, but he barely plays Zapala anymore.
Man, yeah, right. So
it's like, what's the point of this? We all know, we've known all year he's not good. So
right.
what? I don't get it.
Right. Ole Miss can shoot the 3 a lot better. They got Padula, who obviously can light it up, and Dre Davis at guard, and Jamin Breakfield's a very talented wing. But yeah, I wanted an upset in my bracket. I was on the verge of picking all 1s and 2s in my Elite 8, and I was even catching. I was hanging out with Isaac Trotter and Jeremy and those guys up at Milwaukee, and they're like, "Man, you got too biased from having seen Ole Miss in an exhibition game way back in October, and they played maybe their best game of the year against Illinois." They're like, "Yeah, fair, probably," but I don't know. It's that they're sitting here in the Sweet 16, and I've waited for Michigan State's lack of shooting to catch up with them. It obviously caught up with St. John's. It could happen here for them to go out.
Oh, it absolutely could if Ole Miss is red hot from 3, because I don't know if a team just dominates Michigan State from 3, makes a bunch of 3s on them. I think it's so hard for them to win because they just can't match it. From a numbers perspective across 40 minutes, it's going to be hard for them to win a game that way, except for the fact you look at Michigan State's got the number 1 3-point percentage defense in the country.
Yeah.
So teams really don't make a whole lot of 3s on them. And they are a really good defensive team. There's not a ton of athleticism on that Ole Miss team. I think Michigan State's guards could bother theirs, and then the physical matchup is where Michigan State will have a humongous advantage. It's not a very big, not a very physical Ole Miss team, especially in the front court, where while I agree with you, like on paper, the Michigan State front court is like, what are we doing here? They are awesome rebounding. They're really good defensively. So there will be an advantage for Michigan State there, and they just kind of feel like a team that's destined to meet Auburn in the Elite 8. So I don't know. Ole Miss going to have to make threes, which teams just haven't done on Michigan State. We'll see if they can do it. They certainly have done it the first 2 rounds.
Maybe I need to just get over the Jackson Kohler thing. Like, he is top 25 in the country in both offensive and defensive rebounding rate. The haircut sucks, and he's not a very polished offensive player. He's all right.
Except when he comes to State Farm Center, then he's pretty polished.
Yeah, it's true. Hitting a couple threes. But he does, like you said, he does his job, 6'9", 245. And, man, what you're looking for in terms of physicality in the paint, getting rebounds, that's what they do. And I think you let Michigan State rebound it like they want to, and if Ole Miss is missing shots and letting Michigan State get out and run, that could be something that's a big problem as well. So did you see – I'm sure you did – caught wind of Tom Izzo's comments regarding the portal and everything. I know we're really surprised that Tom is grumpy about the transfer portal. I kind of like it, though. I kind of like him sitting here saying nothing is going to distract my mind from my team right now.
Just be you, man. Just stick to your guns. That's how he's always gone about it. Now he's got a team going deep, won the Big Ten. I have to swallow my words with him this year because his team's great.
Yep.
So whatever he wants to say, he's entitled to say it right now. If that's how he wants to approach it, I'm fine with that. I do wonder if that does bite Michigan State after the season. Of course, I don't mind. I don't mind the fact, like you said, from that perspective, like especially if I was a Michigan State fan hearing him say that, I'd probably be like, awesome. But I do wonder, like you lose Akins, you lose some of these guys, like all of a sudden Michigan State falls behind on stuff, and does that really actually do hurt him? Will he regret saying that at any point, or will he not?
And maybe probably the way it should work is let Tom do that, but if you're an assistant on that staff, you got to start working the portal, right? You got to start putting feelers out and have some conversations, but I don't know.
I wonder what would happen if an assistant like came into Tom's office this week and was like, hey, I've been watching film on this portal guy. How does Tom react to that?
I don't know. Give me your keys. Give me your card. You're not allowed in the
clear out your
anymore.
desk.
Yeah, clear out
You're
your
done.
desk.
Did you just say transfer portal?
Yeah.
I thought I banned that word from this facility, even though I do have like 4 transfers on this team.
That's right. Right. Ben on the Max Twin City Recycling text line, $5 parlay on all Big Ten teams to win pays out over $450.
Wow.
Tempting, question mark. It needs to be like, on these sports books, they've got a celebrity or an athlete that like is promoting this, like the Bill Simmons parlays, if you've seen them on FanDuel.
Yes.
It needs to be like the Rafael Davis parlay. I don't know how much
every Big Ten team is the national title favorite.
Unbelievable. It's crazy. I don't know how he fits them all in.
I know. When
I
was
was 7 Big Ten teams in the Elite Eight.
I saw his Twitter feed when the bracket came out. I'm like, dude, did you have struggles by the time you got to the Elite Eight? Like, which Big Ten team do I have to choose here? Because I got all 8 of them in the Elite Eight.
I don't know. Now he was probably feeling pretty good about himself when Big Ten was 10-0 in the NCAA tournament, but
I do think some of that was like, okay, Purdue beat High Point, Michigan State beat Bryant. Like, okay, some context needed on that record.
True.
Oh, that was a good start. It was.
What's the most impressive Big Ten win to date in the tournament?
It would have to be Michigan beating A&M.
Yeah, you're probably right. Michigan beating A&M. Who did Michigan State catch in the second round?
New Mexico.
Purdue got McNeese. Yeah, Maryland, Colorado State.
Colorado State was red hot, but I think Michigan over A&M. I thought A&M would crush them. So
yeah, I agree with you. Any betting feels as far as Friday night goes? I might pick Houston.
Tough.
I might bet Houston.
I like that. Yeah, at 8.5, I think they win by double digits. They just suffocate teams. And man, if you can take away Braden Smith and Kaufman Wren, I think they could run away with it. I probably will have to dabble with BYU money line the way they're playing. Catching 5.5 points, you can get that at like plus 190. That's probably too good to pass up with what this BYU team has done here recently. And an Alabama team that, yes, they're scary when they're playing well, but they've shown some cracks here down the stretch of the year, and they've had some injuries. They're banged up, and I think BYU could win that game.
Yeah, no, I could see it for sure. I don't think that Alabama's going to make BYU any kind of uncomfortable with their defense. So that will be a firework game. And I think BYU's shown they can score with anybody.
Would you dare bet the over 175.5 in that game?
I don't think
I don't think I could ever do that. That's just way too many points.
Illinois, thanks to their own doing, didn't come anywhere close to their over-under, did they? Because that game, the Kentucky game, was like 168 or something like that. And ended up landing at 159? I guess it really wasn't that far off. But definitely expected that game to be in the 80s for both teams, and Illinois fell short at 75. But no, I don't think I could take the over 175.5 or whatever it might be. All right, due for one more break. Come back, wrap up the show. This is The Drive.
Kelsey Furniture in downtown Tuscola sells Tempur-Pedic beds. What's it like?
I'm going to tell you right now, Stevie, that thing is the best thing I've ever slept on in my life. My wife and I both have said we've never had better night's sleep. And the people at Kelsey's were fantastic. Brian is the guy that helped us. You know, as much as I did my research, he has a world of knowledge about beds themselves. Oh, man, it's like sleeping on a cloud, man.
Kelsey Furniture, downtown Tuscola.
Are you looking to save money and have clean energy in your home? Here's Scott Tess with the City of Urbana.
We're partnering to create this bulk purchase program. We're lowering the costs to install new geothermal systems for homes or businesses. So the city's role is to work on the development and procurement of the geothermal installer. We select a single installer for the program period and then set up a bulk purchase program with declining block pricing. We're helping communicate the opportunity and get folks to attend the geothermal power hours. Geothermal Urbana-Champaign is part of the city's commitment to a happier, healthier, climate-safe community.
Attend the Power Hour on Wednesday, March 26th at 5:30 p.m. at the Urbana-Champaign Friends Meeting House, 1904 East Main Street in Urbana. Tailored for houses of worship on Wednesday, March 26th. Program open to all in Champaign, Piatt, and Vermilion counties.
For more details, visit geothermaluc.org.
It seems like the cost of everything is on the rise. But Erie Insurance can help make sure your auto insurance premium isn't one of them. Avoid rate increases with Erie Rate Lock. Even if you have a claim, your rates won't go up until you change a car, driver, or address.
Your Erie agent in Champaign is Thomas & Ellers Insurance.
Erie Rate Lock is not available in all states. Other conditions and limitations at erieinsurance.com. Go to erieinsurance.com for company licensure and product details.
What is most important in your life? This is Rob Meyer with Provident Financial Group. Whether you're launching a career, raising a family, planning for retirement, or creating a legacy, we can help. At Provident, we provide strategic thinking and perspective that can help clients like you realize your goals. Contact us today at 217-366-3456 or find us online at providentfinancialgroupllc.com.
Securities and advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network. Member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
Take charge of the years ahead with a smart, sound investment strategy and business succession plan. Busey Bank's business and wealth management experts help you envision your best future with powerful insights and proven strategies. Building business and growing wealth since 1868. Busey Bank, proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
In 1925, a small plumbing company began its journey in Urbana, Illinois. Over the decades, the business grew thanks to hard work and great people. In 1966, things changed when Dave Reichert, a veteran, met veteran Ken Asklin, who was an architectural engineering grad from Illinois. The two realized their shared vision for excellence. Their partnership took root, and in 1975, the name changed to A&R Mechanical. With Dave as president and Ken as vice president, A&R Mechanical expanded services, becoming the go-to full-service contractor for all of Central Illinois. A&R went from a plumbing-only contractor to a full-service mechanical contractor with their own sheet metal shop. Today, A&R is a plumbing, heating, ventilation service company with the same excellence and customer service as they provided nearly 100 years ago. Design, build, and maintain. That's what served A&R Mechanical for nearly 100 years. Find them at Lincoln and Kettering in Urbana or online at ar-mech.com.
Finishing up on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Opening day tomorrow. We will be off. Cardinals baseball in action. 3:15 first pitch against the Twins. There is a little bit of rain in the forecast, so I guess you never know, but hopefully they are able to get that game in St. Louis so we can sit back and watch that one or listen on this station, ESPN 93.5. 9:10 first pitch Central Time. Cubs at Arizona. Zach Gallen's in action for the Diamondbacks. Who's pitching for the Cubs?
Steele.
Justin Steele going for the Cubbies. Sonny Gray for the Cardinals. Pablo Lopez for the Minnesota Twins.
The Cubs' schedule to start the year real quick is
Yeah.
just ridiculous. Like, it's just, I don't know who made this schedule, but the March-April schedule for the Cubs is not what you want when you're expecting good things this season. You start with the Dodgers in Japan, then you got 4 games against the Diamondbacks in Arizona. You get to go to, where is the Athletics playing in this year? Vegas?
Sacramento.
Sacramento,
right?
that's right. Sacramento, okay, 3-game set in Sacramento. Then you got the Padres for 3, the Rangers for 3, 4 more against the Dodgers, 3 more against the Padres, 3 more against the Diamondbacks.
Jeez.
Sorry, 3 more against the Dodgers, and then another 2 more against the Dodgers, 3 against Philadelphia.
You guys might as well be in the NL West.
That's ridiculous start to the year.
That's crazy.
Your only series to rest until April 29th when you play the Pirates, and I'm sure Skeens will be lined up to pitch that series because he pitched every Pirates series last year, is that Athletic series next week.
Man. I did see Jared Jones is hurt for them, which stinks for the old Buccos, but that's a brutal stretch.
By the way, you see the Brewers at the end of April, too.
Ooh. Cardinals will start at home against the Twins, and then they get the Angels, so that's pretty tough.
Yeah. I feel terrible for you.
Then it's at Boston, at Pittsburgh. Then you bring in Philly, you bring in Houston, then you're at the Mets for 4, at the Braves.
That's certainly no cakewalk either.
That gets tough.
You at least have a couple more easier series than the Cubs do.
End of April, you get a 4-game stand at Cincinnati. So Cardinals need to take advantage of this little Twins-Angels stretch. Then it does get pretty challenging in their own right. You want to pick whenever I go to a game, I like, especially if I'm with my brother, my buddy, my wife, we like to pick who's going to hit a home run today. You want to do that for opening day for our respective squads?
Sure.
All right. Let's start with the Cubs.
I think Kyle Tucker homers on opening day. Let's go. Welcome to Chicago.
Kyle Tucker
taking Zach Gallen deep.
I was trying to pull up some history. You got Kyle Tucker's 4 for 13, 2 doubles against Zach Gallen. That's a 308 average, 769 OPS. He didn't have a great spring, right?
He had a terrible spring.
Did he look at
I think he's due.
Did he look at all better against the
He had an opposite
Dodgers?
field double off of Alex Vesia in the 9th in that second Dodgers game. So hopefully that gets him going. I think he's just due. Look, a guy with that pedigree who has had those seasons, I'm just not that worried about a terrible spring.
right.
If anything, it makes me more excited about what his start of the year could look like because he's just not going to slump for that long. He got the slump out of the way in the spring. That's part of what I'm baking into. I think he comes out pretty red hot in April or late March and April here after a bad spring because he's that good. I think he homers. I'll go with him.
Maybe PCA hits one in the jacuzzi.
That'd be awesome.
And dives into it.
That would be absolutely awesome.
I could see that. He had an awesome spring.
He was great.
Cardinals side of things against Lopez. Nobody has a home run career-wise against him. Arenado is 6 for 18. He's seen him the most. 333 average. I did see wind blowing out to left, so that maybe makes me want to go right-handed bat. I'll go Contreras. He was the guy swinging the best bat in spring. I think he's going to be looking to come out hot as far as, hey, I made the transition to first base, got something to prove. Just in general, a little bit. Chip on his shoulder guy. And I'll take Willie, hit one to left.
I'll be very interested to see how he does at first.
I know.
As somebody who watched him for a long time, he even played a little bit of right field with the Cubs one year when he was recovering from injury. I don't know how that'll go. We'll see.
You make it sound like it's going to go badly.
I don't know. It might.
You know, it's funny. I was surprised that maybe this isn't something that hasn't happened before, but I had on a spring training game last night. The Giants were playing the Tigers out there in San Francisco, and Baez is playing center field.
Oh, is that real?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was shocked. Has he played center field before?
I don't think so. I'd be shocked if he's played an inning of outfield before that.
He was literally playing center field, and I was like, tell me that this is not the first time that he's played out there.